Inside the Maya Empire, blood, gods, and astronomy. Before the Spanish conquistadors ever set foot in the New World, before Columbus even dreamed of a western route to Asia, there was a jungle empire, vibrant, powerful, and soaked in blood. This is the world of the ancient Maya, an enigmatic civilization of warrior priests, sky watchers, and stone architects, hidden deep within the rainforests of Mesoamerica. For centuries, their cities rose like mirages from the trees, pyramids piercing the clouds, plazas echoing with ritual chants, and temples aligned with the stars. But who were they? And how did a society that revered both science and sacrifice leave behind a legacy still shrouded in mystery? Welcome to the Maya Empire, rise of a civilization. The Maya story begins over 3,000 years ago, long before the Aztecs and even before Rome, in the humid lowlands of what is now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. Scattered villages grew into bustling city-states. This wasn't a single empire ruled by one king, but a constellation of rival powers. Tikal, Calakmul, Copan, Palenque. These were the powerhouses. Each city had its own king, its own gods, and its own ambitions. And when they weren't trading obsidian, cacao, and jade, they were making war. But the battlefield wasn't just physical, it was cosmic. Blood for the gods. To the Maya, blood wasn't just life, it was currency, a sacred link between mortals and the divine. Kings and queens pierced their tongues, their ears, even their genitals to draw blood for the gods. And yes, there were sacrifices, real ones. Captured enemies had their hearts cut out atop pyramids, their blood feeding the gods of sun, rain, and death. But this wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake. The Maya believed the universe was a fragile balance, a cosmic engine that ran on blood. Stop the rituals, and the world would fall apart. The celestial obsession. But the Maya weren't just ritual fanatics. They were scientists of the sky. They mapped eclipses, solstices, and planetary movements with astonishing precision. Their priests could predict celestial events centuries in advance, without telescopes, using only shadows, architecture, and genius. They tracked Venus like a god of war, believing its rising signaled battles and bloodshed. Their sacred calendar, the Tzolk'in, meshed astronomy with ritual in a 260-day cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And then, there was the long count calendar, the source of the infamous 2012 doomsday myth. But to the Maya, 2012 wasn't the end. It was just a page turning in the great cosmic book. Architecture of power. Walk through any Maya ruin today, Chichen Itza, Tikal, Uxmal, and you'll feel it. Power set in stone. Towering step pyramids like El Castillo, temples carved with hieroglyphs, massive ball courts where the stakes weren't just victory, but sometimes death. These cities weren't random. They were meticulously planned, aligned with the stars, built to honor both gods and kings. And in their plazas, inscribed on towering stone slabs called stelae, the Maya left their history, not in books, but in glyphs. Modern discoveries. For centuries, those glyphs were unreadable. Maya writing looked like art, intricate, bizarre, unknowable. But in the 20th century, the code began to crack. And what we found wasn't just mythology, it was drama. Kings feuding over dynasties, wars that spanned generations, alliances, betrayals, eclipses, earthquakes, all carved in stone. With every new glyph deciphered, the Maya become less mythic and more human. But what led to their sudden fall? Why did mighty cities like Tikal and Copan collapse into jungle silence? And how does Maya culture still survive today, against all odds? The fall of the cities. For centuries, Maya cities thrived, trading, warring, sacrificing, and aligning their pyramids to the stars. But by the 9th century CE, something began to crumble. The mighty city-states of the southern lowlands, Tikal, Copan, Karakol, started to fall silent. Temples were abandoned, glyphs ceased, Jungle vines crept over palaces, once home to kings and astronomer priests. So what happened? The answer isn't simple. It's not one cataclysm, but a perfect storm. Overpopulation may have strained the land. Deforestation and droughts, made worse by climate shifts, hit food supplies hard. Rival cities bled each other dry through constant war. And as the gods demanded more blood, the people may have questioned whether the kings could truly keep the universe in balance. When crops failed and rituals no longer worked, belief systems cracked. Political collapse followed spiritual collapse, and the jungle swallowed what was left. But not everywhere. A culture that never died. Despite the fall of many major cities, the Maya people never disappeared. While southern cities decayed, northern centers like Chichen Itza and later Mayapan rose to power. And even after the Spanish conquest, millions of Maya resisted, adapted, and survived. Today, over 6 million Maya live in Mexico and Central America. They speak their own languages, practice traditional medicine, and still track time using ancient calendars. Their woven textiles echo the same patterns found on temple walls. The Maya aren't relics, they are living history. The Archaeological Awakening. In the 19th and 20th centuries, explorers hacking through the rainforest began to uncover lost cities, half buried under vines and time. What looked like ruins turned out to be a civilization more advanced than anyone imagined. And with new technology, like LiDAR, which can see through jungle canopy, archaeologists have recently discovered thousands of previously unknown structures, revealing that the Maya world was far larger and more interconnected than we thought. The more we uncover, the more the myth unravels, and the human story deepens. The gods never left. At the heart of Maya civilization was a pantheon of gods, powerful, complex, and ever-present. These deities weren't distant beings. They walked the earth in storms, danced in fire, and blinked through the stars. There was Itzamna, the god of creation and wisdom; Chak, the thunder god who brought rain to feed maize; Kinich Ajal, the sun deity worshipped by kings; and then there were the darker forces, Sizan, the god of death, and Xibalba, the terrifying underworld ruled by lords who thrived on fear, disease, and suffering. Maya myths didn't just explain the world, they shaped it. In the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiche Maya, we hear of the hero twins, Hunahpu and Ixbalanque, who descend into the underworld to defeat the death gods in a trickster's game of wit and courage. It's a tale of death and rebirth, struggle and sacrifice, echoing through Maya rituals and cosmology. These stories weren't just bedtime legends. They were instructions for life, power, rulership, and survival. And they remain part of Maya identity to this day. The ballgame of life and death. Even sport was sacred. The Maya ballgame, Pak to Pak, was more than entertainment. Played on massive stone courts with rubber balls, players used hips, elbows, and knees to keep the ball moving, sometimes through a stone hoop several meters above ground. But here's the twist. The stakes were cosmic. The game symbolized the eternal struggle between light and darkness, life and death. In some rituals, the losing team, or in some cases, even the winners, were sacrificed. Why? Because they were the best, worthy offerings to the gods. In the Maya worldview, death was not an end, but a gateway. And to be sacrificed wasn't a loss, it was immortality, a civilization reborn. For centuries, the Maya were dismissed as a lost civilization, a fallen people swallowed by the jungle and forgotten. But nothing could be further from the truth. Thanks to groundbreaking archaeological work, deciphered glyphs, and the voices of Maya descendants, the empire is being reconstructed in stunning detail. Researchers now know that Maya kings ruled over sophisticated economies, built complex road networks, and created some of the most accurate calendars and astronomical tables the ancient world had ever seen. And beyond the ruins, the Maya live on. In Guatemala, Chiapas, Yucatan, and Belize, Maya communities still celebrate traditional festivals, honor the cycles of the sun and moon, and pass their stories from one generation to the next. Every word spoken in Yucatec, Quiche, or Tzotzil is another thread tying today to the past. The Maya aren't trapped in stone. They are everywhere in language, in culture, in survival. The end, or a beginning. So what do we take away from the story of the Maya? That a civilization can master the stars yet fall to drought. That gods can rise and fall, but stories endure. That what we think we know is just the beginning. The Maya teach us that history isn't linear, it's cyclical. Like their calendars, like the sun, like life itself. We're still deciphering glyphs, still scanning the jungle, still learning how much we don't know. One thing's certain, the Maya weren't just a people of the past, they are part of the future, and we're only now beginning to listen. If you enjoyed this dive into the world of the Maya, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which part of Maya history fascinates you the most? The blood rituals, the gods, or their astronomical genius? Until next time, keep your eyes on the stars and your feet in the jungle.